And I was like, oh, I thought you go to this particular church. And he was like, yeah, he goes to this particular church, but then he also goes here sometimes. What are you looking for? God is not missing. You know, God is not lost. But why are you going here, going there? What happened?
Let me introduce you.
Before you start dating, it's very important for you to be clear, extremely clear about what you want from a relationship or from a man or a woman. And in doing that, you would avoid relationships that are going absolutely nowhere and avoid dating douchebags as well, be it a man or a woman. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 6 ways that you can go about doing that. Hey you, or hey, if it's your first time here, my name is Adenike or Olori Esho. On this channel, I create content that relates to love, marriage, and lifestyle. So if you're interested in any of those, please subscribe to the channel and let me know down below that you're a subscriber, all right? Thumbs up the video as well. Thank you. The best way to set yourself up for the relationship that you desire is to be absolutely clear about what you want from a relationship in general, not just that particular relationship, but a relationship with a man or a woman in general. A few weeks ago, someone DM'd me to tell me, oh, you know, she has a question that she always finds herself in relationship with guys that want premarital relations, but she doesn't want that. But because she's always dating guys that want it, she ends up giving in into their desires and all of that. That what can I advise her to do? And that was what brought about this video, because I told her that she needs to have a uncompromising list, okay, which was a list that I had myself, and I think that list was just amazing. An uncompromising list is a list of things that you know that come rain, come shine, come sun, come dark, there is absolutely nothing that will make you date a guy or a girl that has these features or that belongs to any of these categories, or you know, or that does these things. Just a list of things you know that you absolutely do not want in a relationship. So that way, before you start dating someone, you would have checked, okay, are you ticking the boxes or are you Xing the boxes? And you would have asked yourself certain questions about that person. If the person exhibits any of those criteria, or if the person has any of those features, you know, you'll be able to know, so that you don't even bother yourself by getting into a relationship with that person. So how do you go about having your uncompromising list? Number 1, get a book. You need to write it down. Don't write it on your phone. Don't write it on your computer. If you can avoid writing it on your phone and your computer, then yes, please avoid it. But preferably, I would say get a book. I don't know, I'm old school. I like pen and paper. So you need to get a book where you are going to write that list down. Very important. Number 2, you need to make a list as long as it needs to be, all right? A list of what you absolutely cannot accept in a man or a woman in a relationship, in a romantic relationship. Be as clear as you want. Let me help you. You can do like me and put those things into different categories. I personally had the category of religion or faith. I don't have anything against Muslims or pagans or whatever, you know. Even the Bible gives us freedom of choice. So choose what you want. But my personal preference was that I wanted to marry a Christian. I wanted to date a Christian. And you know, what shall separate me from the love of Christ? And so it was a no-brainer, and it was a deal breaker. I was once on a flight one time, and I sat next to this really tall, dark and handsome guy. And you know, that was the first thing that attracted me to him. And then I think we're both flying from the US to Nigeria. And then we got into a conversation. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is very intelligent. Oh my gosh. And then in the course of the conversation, I realized he was a Muslim. And it was just like, like immediately I realized that it was just like a door was locked. Like, okay, throw the key away. Next, like we can be friends, we can be cool, we can be paddies, we can be buddies, we can be whatever. But in my mind, I already knew, even if he wasn't even thinking in that direction, all right, in my mind, I just already knew that there was absolutely nothing that was going to make me date a Muslim, because I just didn't want to marry a Muslim. I wanted to marry a Christian, someone that shared the same belief and the same faith as myself. And so that was the category. Another category you can write down is temperament. I had temperament down. I really wanted someone that was patient, that was going to be very, 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 very patient. So I knew it in my head. And this list, by the time you write it down, you'd realize that you don't have to keep going back to it. It just stays in your head. You just know, you just remember, okay, number 1, number 2, you just know. Another category was the category of tribe or origin. I don't like stress. Do you get? I'm very lazy when it comes to certain things. And dating is one of them. Dating is very stressful. And so when you start dating someone that is not from the same tribe as you are, you're dating someone that is from a different country, maybe a white dating a black guy or a black girl, like it just, I love it. It looks good. Like, I admire it when Igbos marry Yoruba and Hausas marry Yoruba and we have intertribal marriages or interracial marriages and whatever. It looks beautiful. I don't want to say I desire it, but it just looks so beautiful, and I just awe every time I see such couples. But for myself, I was just like, know thyself is not a crime. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just stay in my Yoruba lane. Jejely and jejely. Because I was like, at least, I still understand the language you're speaking, I don't have to worry about certain things, and even in Yoruba, you still realize that, some parents are still like, don't marry someone that's from here, don't marry someone that's from, it's just all such a headache. Okay, so the only thing I had down was tribe. I would really, really, really like that person to be Yoruba. And so whenever I'd meet someone that was Igbo or, not Yoruba, I wasn't really into the possibility of a relationship with that person, because I just knew that I just wanted a Yoruba person, Yoruba guy. Yeah. After a relationship that I've had, because I dated someone that was not Yoruba before. And it was not a problem. But, you grow, you live, you learn, and it's just like, that doesn't really work for me. You can also look at morals and values and beliefs of that person. Make sure that if there are certain things, certain morals that are very important to you, make sure you write them down. And then look at appearances as well. If there are certain things like, I can never date someone that has a fat nose. Write it down. For whatever reason, I can never ever date someone that has a big mouth like myself. That's good for you. Write it down. Did you understand? Like, whatever are your deal breakers, your uncompromising items, make sure you write them down. That's number 2, right? Also, in compiling that list, other things I considered were things like my upbringing, my childhood experiences, my personal experiences, and what I want for my future, what the future I know God wants for me, and all of that. So I thought about those things. I don't want this. I definitely do not want to be treated this way. I definitely do not want a man that would do this. And so I looked at all those things, and then myself as well. And that was what I brought together to come about that list. Number 3, set boundaries. In creating your list, also make sure that those lists or those items create boundaries for you, and your boundaries will be things that that you absolutely cannot take in a relationship. Okay, I cannot take a guy that raises his voice at me. Like, I'm not an animal, I'm not a child, I'm not a kid, I'm not your pet. Don't raise your voice at me. I was absolutely clear on that. Like, regardless of how angry you get, regardless of how frustrated you get with me, you have to talk to me like I'm someone you love, like I'm someone you are in love with, like love is going to continue after this fight, not like you're talking down at me. No, it can't work. I remember there was a guy that I was talking to at a time, and you know, we had this phone conversation about we hadn't spoken in a few days, and I was saying, oh Abba, you know, I hadn't heard from him. I tried calling him, wasn't picking and all of that, and he just got angry. You know, this was a conversation that was over the phone, and he got angry and he was saying, oh, what do I mean? Did I do this? Did I do that? You know, and he was just going on, and he turned the table and made it seem like, oh, why didn't I look for him? Did I try emailing him? I remember we were having that conversation. I was driving. I was using my hand free, of course, and this was like maybe 6-7 years ago. It was a long time ago, but I still remember vividly because the moment he just started raising his voice, I just kept quiet. I didn't say anything, and he finished, and then he was like, anyway, let's shall leave it at that. After he had finished saying everything he needed to say, I didn't get to say one thing. Okay, and he was like, we shall leave it at that. And how are you? I was like, I'm fine. You know what? I'm driving. I'll call you back shortly. I was like, okay, no problem. So I remember vividly, I drove, I got home, and then I called one of my close friends at the time, and I was like, you will not believe what this guy just did. I was so mad. I was so upset. Like, I wasn't making at him. I was venting to my friend, and I was going on and on, like, who does he think he is? Like, is he mad? And I was going on and on. I was so freaking. My friend was like, oh, I should just calm down. You know, maybe it's not that serious. I was like, absolutely not. So when I had vented and all the anger had left my body, I called him back, and I was like, hey, and he says, hey, and I was like, this is over. Don't you ever, 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 ever in your entire existence call me again. And I hung up the phone. Yeah, that's it. So when I'm saying deal breakers, that's what I mean. Like, set boundaries. So when I'm saying set boundaries, that's what I mean. Like just know, know for certain that this thing, I cannot make excuse for you when you do this thing, and it's a no-no for me, and that's it. So that will be number 3. Number 4 is for you to make sure that you stick to it. If you're in certain situations, or maybe you're at a certain age, it's easy for you to start thinking, oh, maybe I can excuse this, or maybe I can excuse that. But the whole point of having an uncompromising list is for you to ensure that it works. And the only way it's going to work is if you stick to it. Dating is difficult enough. Dating is work. Don't make it more difficult for yourself. Do you understand? Don't make excuses for people in order to accommodate them just so that you can date the person. Don't start saying, oh, maybe I'll asterisk this one and say maybe not. No, the point of that list is to know that absolutely not or absolutely. Do you get? So in order for that list to work, you have to stick to it. That is the only way it is going to work. Don't start doing one leg in, one leg out. I was talking to someone at one point, we're even still at a talking stage. A friend of mine had introduced us, you know, a mutual friend had introduced us and thought that, oh, okay, you know, I think you guys might get along and whatever. And we had started talking. It seemed genuine. It took me on a date. It was a very lovely date and all of that. And then his phone rang one time when we were on a date, and I saw his screen, what do you call it? It's wallpaper, and it was a wallpaper of a pastor. Now, keep in mind, this person is a Christian, goes to the same church, or used to go to the same church as my friend, and all of that. So I thought I knew his beliefs and, you know, faith and all of that. But then his phone rang that day, and I saw the picture of this particular pastor whose values and preachings I don't subscribe to and I don't believe in, and I wasn't raised to believe in. And I was like, oh, I thought you go to this particular church. And he was like, yeah, I go to this particular church, but then he also goes here sometimes. And I was like, what are you looking for? God is not missing. You know, God is not lost. Well, why are you going here, going there? What happened? I didn't say those things to him, but those were the questions that were going on in my head, you know. And I was like, oh, okay, oh, cool. And then it was like, oh, do I have issues with it? And I was like, no, not really. And it was like, maybe that means I probably wouldn't even want to come to his house because it has something at the entrance of his house. I was like, really? And then, we went on, had the conversation, said very nice goodbyes. The next day he calls and I was like, you know what? I kind of need time to rethink everything. So give me some time apart and I'll keep you posted. And after that, I just told him I wasn't interested. I mean, we said cool, and he was like, why? And I was just like, this just doesn't work for me, and I don't want to intrude on whatever it is that you're doing that is working for you. So I'm just gonna remove myself from that equation. And it was cool, it was cool. It wasn't like a fighting situation or anything, but that was it. And friendship continued. We stayed in touch a few times after that, but that was just it. So that goes back to what I'm saying, that in as much as the guy might have seemed like, oh, he's a Christian and I wanted to be with a Christian, but there are different types of Christians, okay? Don't get it twisted. And so I also feel like when I see signs like that, I feel like that's God revealing certain things to me, and I shouldn't take it for granted. I shouldn't get caught up in, oh, I want to date. And so it's very important for you to stick to that list when you have it, because you have that list for a reason. Next is number 5. You have to be unapologetic about your list. When you have this kind of list, it's very easy for people to guilt you into making you feel like you're a bad person, or into making you feel like, oh, you're being picky, or into making you feel like, what is the big deal with you anyway? Let them. It's okay. You have to be unapologetic about that list, because you know why that list exists. You know what you have seen. You know the life experiences you've had. You know what you grew up seeing that you don't want to replicate in your own life, in your own home. And so when you're saying, I do not want a man that shouts, or a man that cannot control his temper, then don't let people make you feel you are being intolerant, okay? Don't allow people make you feel like you are not being flexible, or you're not allowing for room for growth, or no. There's a certain age that you're supposed to get, and you're supposed to understand how important it is for you to be able to control your anger and control your temper. Okay, so it's not going to be my job for me to come at the age of 35, at the age of 30. I'm not the one that is now come and be teaching you that, oh, you're not supposed to shout. If you don't know that already, there's a problem. I mean, using that as an example, that's not to say every now and again that person might not raise their voice and just yell or something, but it is not that person's attribute. It is not that person's attitude. It is once in a blue moon. It is not every day. Do you get what I'm saying? So that is what I mean. So don't allow people make you feel bad about having a list, because you and you alone knows why that list exists. Okay, so if they're trying to guilt trip you, yeah, whatever, keep it moving. Number 6, which is last but definitely not the least, is the fact that you don't want to waver. Okay, you don't want to make compromises on your list. You want to stand firm. You want to trust God. You want to know that you have these things in place for your own protection and for your safety and for your joy and your happiness and your love life. You know why that list exists. Again, this is why they are called deal breakers. You don't want to start saying, maybe it can be a deal bender or something, as long as you're not rude about it, you're not being arrogant about it. I was never rude or arrogant about it, because at the end of the day, I understood that one man's meat is another man's poison. I understood that what I probably don't want, some people desire. And so I was absolutely careful not to make people feel bad for who they were, because who am I? Who am I? Do you get what I'm saying? So I was very, very careful not to cross that line of being rude or just completely crushing relationships or possible friendships and all of that just because, oh, deal breaker. No, you don't go about it that way. In as much as you're firm, don't be rude, you know, be polite, explain yourself in terms of, oh, you know, I just really cannot deal with this type of thing, and that's it, you know. And I think in going about it that way, you'd be able to help yourself set yourself up for a healthy relationship and for the type of relationship that you desire. What do you think? What do you absolutely think? I want to hear from you. Do you have such a list? Have you ever had such a list? Are you going to go create your list now? What is on your list, or what is going to be on your list? Whatever your thoughts are, I want to hear down below in the comment section. Please let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if there are other videos you'd like me to create, please let me know as well down below in the comment section as well. I absolutely love and appreciate you. I cannot wait to see you again very soon. But before then, subscribe to the channel, check out my other videos, and I will see you again very soon. You know how we do it. I pray God blesses you, your home, your marriages, and your relationships. See you again very soon. Remain in God, and God bless you. Bye.